Ladies and gentlemen, what a momentous day this is. If you're familiar with this channel, I really love PC gaming and I love tweaking and tinkering PCs left and right. What I also really love to do is to turn old PCs and give them some new life and a new purpose. I already talked about my friend's used Lenovo L410 laptop, which I took it up for a spin and boy, was that quite fun. For the price of 3 million rupiah or 210 bucks, which includes a laptop and a 500 gig SSD that costs almost the same as the laptop, he actually managed to get himself a decent laptop that he can actually use for not just office works and conference calls, but also playing older but super fun games. So after an exhausting day of work, he can take a break by browsing through the internet, watching some videos, films, or animes, or playing some good old Counter-Strike. I bring this up because in this video, and in many other videos in the past actually, I've shown me playing Typing of the Dead on an HP Mini 110. That was quite the potato of a laptop. It used to be my dad's, but I inherited it so that I can use it to make school assignments and stuff. Well, ladies and gentlemen, guess what arrived in the mail? Oh boy! Ooh, I love this so much. This is just like my childhood freaking laptop. I used this a lot when I was a kid. When I was in middle school specifically, but man, oh boy, see this again and I have lots of nostalgia on it. Oh boy, I love it. Before we get to this video, thank you so much for supporting this channel. You can do so by checking the links down below. Also, late thanks to Jack of Souls for the pledge on Patreon. You are fantastic. Here is the HP Mini 110. In the used market, this one costs like $70 to $90 here in Indonesia, which is about 1.2, 1.3 million. This is not the original laptop that you saw in the video. The original laptop actually got inherited to my other family members who are less fortunate because that's how a lot of stuff gets around in my family. If we're not using it, we're giving it out to the less fortunate members. My aunt actually used one of my older phones and she still uses it even to this day. I might be actually giving this away to other family members who are less fortunate and desperately need something to do office and schoolwork and can do conference calls and Zoom calls or Google Meet or whatever, especially in this day and age where a lot of stuff is online. Anyway, the one that I had was colored black. This one is white, but color doesn't matter to me because the moment I open this up, it's pretty much the same as the one that I had, and it's just a stream of nostalgia in my mind. As for I/O, we got an SD card reader on the right, which is actually pretty cool. Not a lot of laptops have those. 2 USB, pretty sure this is 2.0 on the right. All of this is 2.0. I don't think this CPU can actually drive USB that's like 3.0 or much bigger. 2 USBs on here, right there on the right, and then you got the Kensington lock. And then on the left side here, you got the VGA port right there. So if you want to connect this to a presentation, if you want to connect this to a projector, you can do that. One USB and the headphone combo jack and also the charging port on there. Nothing on the back. The battery is actually removable. And the cool thing about this one is that once you remove the battery is removable. You can replace that in case it's broken. Once you remove the battery, the disassembly process is super simple. You just need to pull this orange tab right there and boom, you got access to all of the necessary components. No screwdrivers needed. All you need to do is just pull this simple orange tab right here. You got all the components in here. Man, that is so much easier than a lot of laptops that I have to deal with, man. If only laptops can just open up that easy and we can just like upgrade the components here and there. And unfortunately, with this particular laptop, you can only upgrade the hard drive right here. You got the SSD. I have the SSD right here. We'll talk about that in a bit. And 2 gigs of RAM. Actually, we'll talk about the specs in a bit later. So, I got the laptop again. And then what? What am I going to do about it? Well, I'm glad you asked. I'm gonna game on it. I mean, yes, I use this manky old laptop on Windows 7 for schoolworks, but this is also the laptop that I use to boot up classic games like Unreal Tournament, which just defines my middle school life, basically. So to have this laptop again at my hands and to test it out to see how it works in current year is such a pleasure. And I also want to know how much crap I can tolerate back then. Oh yeah, one more thing. This laptop has a webcam, so you can do Zoom calls on it. Let's see how it goes.
So this is the quality of the HP Mini 110 webcam. I realized that I forgot to test the quality on the Lenovo one. Yeah, I forgot to do that, but this is just the quality of the webcam, and the webcam is not very good. But then again, a lot of laptop webcams are not very good. And as for the audio quality, I want to use the laptop's audio webcam, but for some reason, the audio is just really, really bad. So if you want to do conference calls and Zoom calls and people want to hear you clearly, get yourself some earbuds, get yourself some earphones or whatever, right? I got these earbuds for like say $10. Just get yourself one of these and make sure that you can hear what people are saying. Make sure people can actually hear what you're saying as well, and also switch the audio so that it can actually select the correct microphone. Because the webcam audio is atrocious. It's absolutely terrible. Also, another thing that I forgot to mention is the fact that I have to record all of this through Zoom. So I record the audio and the video and all of that and the webcam through Zoom. I open up OBS and have OBS to record everything, but I can't do that because OBS does not support the CPU on this laptop. So I have to use Zoom, and Zoom is able to record the meeting and send it and just put the entire files into MP4 so that I can use it in a video editor. So yeah, it cannot even run OBS properly. Like, there's so many restrictions on this laptop. It's insane, but that's just how it is for this HP Mini, man. Yeah, it's barely alive, but hey, it can do Zoom calls at least, right?
Now let's talk about the specs. This laptop has an Intel Atom processor. I did Google the spec of an HP Mini 110, and apparently it has an Intel Atom N450, which is a single core 2 threads processor. Yikes! Oh boy! Nowadays, a quad core, 4-core, quad core with 8 threads. That's the bare minimum for productivity stuff. This laptop with an Intel Atom will never ever survive current year. The funny thing is, the Intel laptop on this specific HP Mini that I got is an N570, which is a dual-core 4-thread CPU. So I guess this is a much better version of the lineup. Not to mention, it only has 2 gigs of DDR3 RAM. That's right, the RAM is only 2 gigs. Nowadays, modern smartphones have more than 4 gigs of RAM. My, how times have changed. But hey, usually laptop RAMs are upgradable, so we can just open it up and upgrade the RAM that we got on this with no issues, right? Nope. This Intel Atom laptop can only accept 2 gigs of RAM maximum and only a single channel, which compared to the one that I got last time is actually an upgrade. While I don't remember the specific Intel Atom CPU that I had when I was a kid, I remember very clearly that it only has 1 gig of RAM. It's a miracle that it runs, actually. Now, the laptop came in shipped with a 320 gig mechanical hard drive, which in this day and age, it's absolutely unacceptable. And you can bet your life savings that I'm going to replace that. And that's exactly what I did. This is the Samsung 870 EVO 500 gig SSD, which costs nearly the same as the laptop. Samsung SSDs are like among the top tier of consumer grade SSDs. And I put this investment right here just so that I can extract the most out of this laptop and just to make this video because it's going to be super fun to make. Oh, by the way, check out this SSD tier post on Linus Tech Tips forum. If you're shopping for SSD but you want to know if it's actually a good one, this should be a nice handy guide. So yeah, this laptop is an absolute potato. There is no chance that this laptop can run anything in a browser these days, let alone Windows 10. The laptop came in with Windows 7 out of the box, installed on that 320 gig mechanical hard drive, and it barely runs it. Barely. And once I put in this laptop with the SSD on it, how does it run? Well, the boot time is a lot faster than a hard drive, I can tell you that. I have Office 2013 here, and I am running a 100-page Word document, which is my thesis. And after the initial loading time, which takes quite a while, it is usable enough to scroll around and edit. It's definitely not ideal, but for those who are in a pinch, it's totally workable. If you're using this to make presentations or spreadsheets, if you're using it for some light internet browsing, it's barely workable, even with an SSD. What about watching videos? Well, let's just say that if you have a smartphone right now, there's a good chance that that thing runs videos much better than this laptop ever could. Seriously, this thing is a hog running YouTube, let alone insert streaming services here. This thing is so old and ancient, it cannot even be used for YouTube at any optimal speed. I have a hard drive collection of animes and movies and TV shows, and it's lagging like crazy, especially if you get your stuff on X265 and it's in 1080p. My phone can play these videos just fine, and this laptop can't. But you know what? In certain scenarios, that's actually a good thing. Let's say that you're a parent, that you want to give your children something for schoolworks, but you don't want to give them anything that can do gaming or binging YouTube videos or Netflix or whatever. Put an SSD on this thing, and it's fairly usable for basic schoolworks and Zoom calls. And then down the line, if your kid behaves real good, that's where you give them a real laptop. Now let's talk about gaming. Oh boy, the gaming. Trying to run basic productivity apps on this thing can be quite a chore, let alone game. Gaming on this thing is quite the roller coaster, and not a good one, unfortunately. It's the one that stops and chugs every couple of seconds that you would have genuine fear that it's going to fail and probably kill you. There's a very good reason why these types of PCs are called notebooks, because that's the only thing that they're good at, taking notes. It's not very good at gaming, but that doesn't mean that it cannot game. Against all odds, it manages to run the original Unreal Tournament, which is actually quite impressive. It's an Intel Atom laptop, and yet it runs the original Unreal Tournament. It's actually playable enough for it to be actually fun to play. There are frame drops, yes, but it's tolerable in my opinion, and playable enough for it to actually be pretty fun. So if I'm like super bored after works and lots of conference calls, this should be good enough. And hey, if Doom can run on pretty much anything these days, even a freaking pregnancy test, then surely it can run on this Intel Atom PC, right? Yes. Yes, it can. And since Doom is like one of my childhood games, I can totally have fun with this PC, and it's totally workable. How about emulations? Surely this weak sauce of a PC can run the original Super Mario Bros. At least. Yeah, I don't expect it to emulate PS1 games or anything like that. I just wanted to run the original Super Mario Bros. At least. But I ran it on Messen, and yeah, it's torturous. That said, I looked at another NES emulator, Nestopia, and it runs fine right there. So maybe it's just the emulator. I got Earthworm Jim here on SNES 9X, and it runs okay. There's some audio crackling there though. I got Link to the Past for GBA, and this too runs fine on here, so I guess GBA games are totally okay. But if I want to run emulators on ancient games like these, my 3DS runs them better. They got dedicated controllers, and they're infinitely more portable. Heck, my phone runs them better, and it can even do PSP games. So yeah, the most that this potato can do is just to edit documents and write notes, which is precisely why they're called notebooks. And I guess that's what I'm gonna use it for. I'm gonna use it just to note stuff. But then again, I could have just bought a Bluetooth keyboard and used my phone to note stuff, and that would run Google Docs much better than this guy could. Yeah, this guy can't even run Google Docs. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. That's the HP Mini 110. Now that I tried this again with modern hardwares and softwares, I can conclude a couple of things here. For $90, if you desperately need a laptop, this can do it in an absolute pinch. But that's only if you're willing to spend a couple more dollars for an SSD upgrade. It doesn't have to be a premium SSD like this that costs pretty much the same as the laptop. It can even be some cheap 120 gig low-tiered SSD that costs like $20. Anything but running this thing on a hard drive and Windows 10. And even then, once you got it, don't expect it to do anything but the most basic of Office, browsing, and Zoom calls. This is actually the kind of laptop that you give to your Zoomer children or relatives if they've been not focusing on their schoolworks. Give them something so cheap that it can actually work okay for basic schoolworks, but do not work at all for gaming, except for old games or GBA games, which they probably won't play because they're old and the graphics look bad or something. Zoomers these days, man. I'm getting old. And that's all for the video today. If you like this video, you can go ahead and click the like button and subscribe for more. If you wish, you can support me through the links down below. And thanks for watching.